Jordan was fixing his Wi-Fi, but within minutes, police cars surrounded his home. Why was he being treated like a criminal in his neighborhood? Who had called 911? And what were they accusing him of? A woman stood on the sidewalk, angrily pointing at him, Karen. But when the cops arrived expecting to arrest Jordan, they uncovered something shocking, something Karen never wanted anyone to know. What dark secret did the police expose? And why did Karen's face turn pale when they confronted her? Watch the full story now. Like, share, and subscribe for more eye-opening stories. Jordan Carter had lived in his suburban neighborhood for nearly a year, but never felt fully welcome. The glances, the whispers. He knew people like Lorraine Whitaker saw him as an outsider. Still, he never expected what happened that evening. His internet had been spotty all week, and since the technician wasn't coming for days, he decided to check the outdoor router box himself. As he unscrewed the panel, he sensed eyes on him. Looking up, he spotted Lorraine standing on her porch, arms folded, face twisted in suspicion. "What do you think you're doing?" she snapped. Jordan sighed, keeping his voice calm. "Fixing my Wi-Fi. I live here." But Lorraine wasn't listening. She pulled out her phone and dialed. "Yes, I need officers now. A suspicious black man is tampering with wires. He's trying to break into a house." Jordan felt a chill run through him. This wasn't just ignorance, it was dangerous. Minutes later, sirens blared. Neighbors peeked through their curtains. Two officers stepped out, hands near their holsters. But then, one officer froze, staring at Jordan in disbelief. "Wait a second. I know you." Lorraine's smirk faded. Something wasn't right. Jordan's heart pounded as the officers approached. He had done nothing wrong, yet here he was, hands raised slightly, every muscle tense. Lorraine stood triumphantly, arms crossed, waiting for the officers to do what she assumed was their job. But the taller officer, Sergeant Mitchell, suddenly stepped back, his brows furrowed in recognition. "Carter? Jordan Carter?" he asked, his voice laced with shock. Jordan blinked. "Yeah. Do I know you?" The other officer, a younger man named Officer Brooks, looked between them, confused. "Sarge?" Sergeant Mitchell hesitated, then turned to Lorraine. "Ma'am, are you sure he doesn't live here?" Lorraine scoffed. "Of course. I've never seen him before. Look at him, sneaking around like that. He doesn't belong here." Jordan clenched his jaw. "I've lived in this house for a year." Mitchell exhaled. "Carter, it's me, Detective Mitchell from Chicago." Jordan's eyes widened. Chicago. That was years ago. And Mitchell, he had been part of an investigation that changed Jordan's life forever. Lorraine, still oblivious, rolled her eyes. "Who cares? Just arrest him already." Mitchell turned to her sharply. "Ma'am, I think you just made a very big mistake." And suddenly everything shifted. Lorraine scoffed. "A mistake? Please. I know when someone doesn't belong in my neighborhood." She smirked, arms crossed, waiting for the inevitable arrest. But Sergeant Mitchell's expression had changed. He wasn't just looking at Jordan anymore. He was studying him, piecing together something from the past. "Carter, you disappeared 12 years ago. The whole department thought you were dead." Jordan's fist clenched. He had spent years trying to escape his past, building a new life here. And now, in the middle of his front yard, it caught up to him. Officer Brooks frowned. "Wait, what's going on? What do you mean disappeared?" Mitchell kept his eyes locked on Jordan. Back in Chicago, Jordan Carter was a whistleblower. He exposed a corruption scandal that nearly took down some of the most powerful people in the city. Then one day, he vanished. Lorraine's smug expression faltered. "That's ridiculous. He's just some—" Jordan cut her off, stepping forward. "Some what, Lorraine?" His voice was steady, but his eyes burned with years of buried anger. "Some criminal? Some thug? You don't even know me." Mitchell exhaled. We need to talk. Inside. But before they could move, a black SUV turned onto the street, slowing as it approached. Jordan's blood ran cold. They had found him, and he was no longer safe. Jordan's stomach twisted as the black SUV crept closer. He recognized the tinted windows, the way they moved. Whoever was inside wasn't just passing through. Sergeant Mitchell's hand hovered over his holster. Jordan, is there something you're not telling me? Jordan swallowed hard. It's them. Mitchell's eyes narrowed. Them who? Before Jordan could answer, the SUV lurched to a stop. The passenger window rolled down just enough to reveal a shadowy figure inside. A voice, calm, calculated, chilling, called out. Mr. Carter, we've been looking for you. Jordan felt Lorraine's confused stare, but she was no longer the problem. He was in real danger now. Mitchell stepped forward. This is a police investigation. State your business. The voice in the SUV chuckled. Oh, officer, this is much bigger than you. Jordan clenched his fists. He had spent 12 years running, changing his name, building a quiet life, and keeping his head down. But the past, it had finally caught up. Lorraine, still oblivious, scoffed. This is absurd. I just wanted my neighborhood to be safe. Jordan turned to her, his voice steady but sharp. You have no idea what you've just done. The SUV's door opened, and Jordan knew. This wasn't going to end without a fight. Jordan's breath hitched as the SUV's door swung open. A man in a sharp gray suit stepped out, his face obscured by shadows. But Jordan knew exactly who he was. Sergeant Mitchell's hand went to his weapon. Step back. Identify yourself. The man smirked, ignoring the officer. His cold, calculating eyes locked onto Jordan. It's been a long time, Carter. Jordan's pulse pounded. Carter. That name hadn't been spoken in years. Not since he escaped. Not since he walked away from a life that wasn't supposed to let him go. Lorraine crossed her arms. What is going on? Who are these people? The man in the suit chuckled. Oh, dear Karen, you really don't know, do you? He turned back to Jordan. Or should I say, Agent Carter? Lorraine's face twisted in confusion. Mitchell froze. Jordan exhaled sharply. Not anymore. Oh, but you are, the man pressed. The best undercover operative we ever had. Until you vanished. Mitchell's grip tightened on his gun. Undercover? For what? The man smiled. He infiltrated one of the most dangerous cybercrime syndicates in the country. His eyes darkened. And then he disappeared with something that didn't belong to him. Jordan clenched his jaw. He had risked everything to take down corrupt forces from the inside, and then they turned on him. Lorraine gasped. You're not just some guy setting up Wi-Fi? Jordan shot her a sharp glance. No, I'm not. The man in the suit took a step forward. You have two choices, Carter. Come with us, or things get ugly. Sergeant Mitchell squared his shoulders. Over my dead body, the man smirked. That can be arranged. A second SUV pulled up. The doors flung open. More men stepped out, and Jordan realized this wasn't just about him anymore. It was about who would survive the night. Jordan's muscles tensed as the second SUV's doors flew open. 4 men in tactical gear stepped out, weapons visible beneath their jackets. The air crackled with tension. Sergeant Mitchell stiffened. His hand hovered over his holster, eyes darting between the men. I don't know who you are, but if you're threatening a civilian on my watch, you've got a serious problem. The man in the gray suit smirked. Sergeant, you don't understand. Carter here isn't just any civilian. He's a ghost. A man who vanished with classified data that could ruin very powerful people. Lorraine's mouth fell open. Wait, he's a criminal. Jordan turned to her, his jaw tight. Number I was a federal agent. I went undercover to expose a network stealing billions through cybercrime. I gathered enough evidence to put them away for life. But when I reported it to my superiors, I found out they were in on it. Mitchell cursed under his breath. So they tried to get rid of you. Jordan nodded. I barely escaped. I changed my name, wiped my past, and disappeared. His voice dropped lower. But they never stopped looking. The man in the suit grinned. And now we found you. Let's not make this difficult, Carter. Mitchell squared his stance. He's under my jurisdiction now. If you want him, you're going to have to go through me. The suited man exhaled dramatically. Sergeant, this isn't your fight. He signaled to his men. Step aside, and we walk away peacefully. Jordan's mind raced. He couldn't let this escalate into a shootout. Innocent people could get hurt, but surrendering meant certain death. His gaze flickered to Lorraine. Her fear was evident, but there was something else in her eyes. Regret. He turned back to the suited man. I know why you're here. He reached into his pocket slowly, deliberately. Mitchell tensed. The men in tactical gear gripped their weapons. Jordan pulled out a small flash drive. This is what you're after, isn't it? He said. The man's eyes lit up. Jordan tightened his grip on the drive. You want it? Come and get it. And in a split second, he made his move. Time slowed as Jordan lunged, twisting his body as the suited man barked an order. Gunfire erupted. Lorraine screamed, diving behind the police cruiser. Sergeant Mitchell drew his weapon, firing back. Jordan sprinted toward the nearest car, bullets whizzing past his head. He hit the ground hard, rolling behind the wheel well for cover. His heart pounded, but his mind was razor sharp. The suited man cursed. Take him alive! Jordan clutched the flash drive in his fist. He had to choose to fight, run, or expose the truth. He made his decision. Pulling out his phone, he activated a preset function. With one tap, he uploaded everything. The names, the evidence, the crimes, straight to major news networks, the FBI, and social media. The suited man's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his face drained of color. His men hesitated. The whole world now knew what they had done. Mitchell took advantage of their distraction. Drop your weapons, now! The agents hesitated, then realizing their plan had collapsed, they threw down their guns. Within seconds, backup officers swarmed the scene, arresting them. Lorraine stood slowly, her face pale. She looked at Jordan. I'm sorry, Jordan exhaled, exhaustion washing over him. People like you almost got me killed. But after a beat, his expression softened. But you also gave me a chance to clear my name. Mitchell clapped Jordan on the shoulder. You're free now. You can start over. Jordan looked up at the night sky, finally breathing without fear. I already have. Enjoyed this story? Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales. Let's spread the message of hope and unity together. Thanks, and take care.